The Oregon Ducks just hit the motherload of great news. Let's talk about it. My name is Paul. Together with my buddy Aaron, we are the Big Ten guys. Tune in every day for the latest Big Ten news, insights, and analysis. If you're a fan of Oregon or any Big Ten football team, don't miss out. Like and subscribe. And then also comment below, what are your expectations for Oregon in the playoffs this year? What do you think the most important things are going to be? We always like talking football with you guys. And then also just comment on anything you hear in this video that you want to talk about. So I got so many pieces of good news here. I don't even know where to start with it. I think I'm going to start with the future of this team and then finish with what is kind of breaking down to finish this current season and how that is perfect for Oregon. But let's start about recruiting a little bit. So Brian Hartline, the Ohio State offensive coordinator, who has been just pumping out elite receiver after elite receiver after elite receiver, has taken a job at USF. Somehow Penn State couldn't get him. He's at USF. They still don't have a coach. That's a video for another day. But all of a sudden, it sounds like Oregon might be the team to get him. Steve Wiltfong, who's a big-time Rivals analyst, has reported that the Ducks are the team trending to land Henry. The idea of Decorian Moore with Chris Henry Jr. is absolutely absurd, and it would make this already ridiculous recruiting class even better. So if he signs with Oregon, it will be enough to boost Oregon above USC, which is a ridiculously good and deep USC recruiting class. But landing Chris Henry Jr., and real quick, RIP to Chris Henry Sr. It's been a long time now, but happy to see his son is doing well. But anyways, Oregon would have its first ever number one class. And it's not surprising at all to see them this high. It's honestly kind of surprising that they haven't signed a number one class before. But it seems like this really could be the year to do it. And I think what's even more impressive is like a team like USC, super good recruiting class, but a lot of what it is it's just so deep. Like they have like 30 recruits coming in, all those 4 stars added up has them number one. Oregon's isn't as deep, but it is like the most ridiculous top-heavy class I think I've ever seen. The number of 5 stars they have depend on what site they use, but it's got to be at least 5 at this point on pretty much every site. Like they have some absolute blue chip talent coming in. And then another bit of good news for the future. It stinks to lose your offensive coordinator going into the playoffs. Ohio State's going to deal with the same thing. Ole Miss doesn't even have their coach. Who knows what else will happen with these playoff teams. But one thing Dan Lanning predicted, and we know is going to come true, he's going to get one of the best not necessarily young, but one of the best offensive minds in the game to come in and play for him. Because, yeah, it stinks when you're one of these coaches who all your assistants are wanting to go to the next job and are getting like good head coaching jobs elsewhere. But that also means that some of the best up-and-coming talent at the coordinator position, they're going to want to go play for Dan Lanning because they know they're going to succeed with Dan Lanning and they're going to get a head coaching job. And Dan Lanning is just going to keep this train going. He's going to bring in a great coordinator, and they're going to end up getting a Power 4 head coaching job in the near future as well because that's just what he does. So you got to feel optimistic about that. And then talking specifically about this season, the way I think the playoffs are going to break down for Oregon couldn't be more perfect. For one, I think in this day and age, like, yeah, it's great to win your conference, but Oregon, been there, done that, did it last year. Now it's time to win a natty. At this point, what do you get from playing in this conference championship game besides like an extra week where you could end up getting injuries? So I think it is a good thing that Oregon is not going to have to deal with that. And then it's also a good thing the way the bracket's breaking down. If they stay here at the 5 seed, they could have a perfect path to the playoffs. I think I have it pulled up here what the current path would look like. So right now they're the 5 seed. They would play the 12 seed, which looks like it would probably be Tulane. And that could change depending on who wins some of these conference championship games. But generally, the 5 seed is going to get the easiest draw in the first round. They're going to get a team that's probably not even in the top 15 to top 20. They're going to just get the conference champion who automatically qualifies. And I'm not going to say has no business being in that game, but out of all the draws you can get Alabama in the first round. You can get Notre Dame in the first round. Ole Miss, it wouldn't surprise me if they end up getting a pretty decently easy draw too. But Oregon is going to get a good first round draw. And then if you look at their next opponent, like I'm not going to sit here and tell you Texas Tech isn't good. They have a great pass defense. There are no games in the playoffs that are easy. But I don't want to play Ohio State in the next round. I don't want to play Georgia in the next round. I don't want to play Indiana in the next round. If I'm picking one of those teams to play, it's Texas Tech. It honestly reminds me a lot of the way the bracket broke down for Texas last year. Like they played a Clemson team that won their conference but otherwise had no business being in the playoffs. And then they played an Arizona State team who was solid. Shout out Cam Scadaboo, he's a dog. But that's a much worse draw than what Oregon got last year, having to play Ohio State, who is just a juggernaut in the playoffs. And, similarly this year, like Ohio State might get a really tough opening game in the quarterfinals with Alabama or Oklahoma. Honestly, I think you could make an argument that Georgia at the number 3 spot could be in the best position. So the loser of the Ohio State-Indiana game is probably going to get the best draw there with either an Ole Miss team who doesn't have their coach, or you'd maybe play like a Virginia or whoever comes out of the ACC. So, but regardless, this is a good draw for Oregon. The thought of not having to play an Ohio State, an Indiana, or a Georgia until the semifinals, that's huge. Because Oregon, they're about to have time to get healthy. Hopefully DeCorian Moore and others are 100% going into the playoffs. There's more than enough time for that. And then they're going to get not a cupcake game, not like a warm-up game. They're going to play a very good team, but they're not going to have that extra week that they had last year to get rusty and play a team who played the week before and has kind of gotten back into the swing of things. They'll be able to get back in the swing of things against probably the weakest opponent in the playoffs. And then while they have their cylinders firing, they're going to play a Texas Tech team who's rusty. And then you guys let me know who you would want to see in the playoffs. Personally, if I'm an Oregon fan, I'd love to find a way to play Georgia here in the semifinals. I think Ohio State and Indiana are the 2 best teams in the country. But my guess is the 1 seed here is going to be the winner of the Ohio State-Indiana game. And Georgia is going to stay here. Maybe they'll be number 2, and move above the loser of that game. But I don't see Georgia jumping the winner of that game. So I'm guessing Oregon will play Ohio State or Indiana. You let me know who you would rather play. Honestly, and I say this as a Michigan fan, I think Indiana is better than Ohio State. But it's so hard to beat the same team twice in 1 year. So it might be better for Oregon if Indiana wins that game and you get to play Indiana in the playoffs. So you guys let me know what you think. But either way, this couldn't have broken better for Oregon. I really like their chances in the playoffs. Should be fully healthy. Should have the bracket break down nicely for them. And then this recruiting class is absurd, and it looks like they're going to get even better with Chris Henry Jr. So you guys let me know what you think, and then don't forget, just like and subscribe on the way out.